Stop the War Coalition will be organising actions through the APEC gathering when we have the appalling imposition of a wall. Like, it's not really a very big wall when you think about the one that's being driven through the heart of Palestine at the moment, but nevertheless, it makes us think what it is like to have a walled city where the powerful leaders who are pushing us into war are protected behind the walls and the rank and filers, the people of the city, are locked out. I do want to introduce Matt Howard. Matt fought with the US Marines in Iraq on 2 tours of duty, but he's now part of the growing number of soldiers who are organising to end that occupation. The Iraq Veterans Against the War, which is the organisation on whose behalf Matt is speaking, are leading the current escalation of anti-war activity in the United States. They've got chapters in 42 states, and they're taking a leading role in the international campaigns in which Australians are able to participate.
My name is Matthew Howard. I'm a former U.S. Marine. I did 4 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. I joined the Marines coming out of high school, looking for money for college. I was in a tank battalion, and our first objective once we got into Iraq, coming from Kuwait, was called Operation Crown Jewel, and that was to secure the 3rd largest oil refinery in the world. So, it didn't leave much room for speculation about why exactly we were there.
This was a war of aggression, an invasion into a foreign sovereign nation, which under Nuremberg standards is a war crime. In the United States, in the media, we always hear about how this war has turned out to be a mistake, that we went in with the best intentions, but through a series of miscalculations and blunders, that 4 years later it turns out that things aren't going so well. But that's based on the initial premise that we had the right to be there in the first place. Well, I was there for the initial invasion, and we set the tone for the next 4 years of occupation. And that initial period of the war got no coverage when it came to the gross civilian casualties and the horrific atrocities that we committed all the way to Baghdad. It was our actions that laid the groundwork for how we were to treat the Iraqis for the next 4 years to come, and how we're still continuing to treat them today. I was in Iraq about halfway to Baghdad. We're on Highway 8. I'm driving along, and then I came upon the most horrific scene I've ever seen in my life. It was a series of buses that had been completely blown up. They were still on fire. The front was blown wide open. There were women and children laying on the side. There was thick black smoke pouring from these vehicles. And instantly, I turned to my gunner and I said, what the hell just happened here? And we listened to the radio chatter, and it was coming down that we had made enemy contact with the buses, that as they had been let into our convoy, a man jumped out with an AK-47 and opened fire, despite the fact that they had been waving white flags out the windows. Instantly, all these red flags went up in my mind off of that story. I said, if that's really the case, then this level of force still is not appropriate. We're trained as Marines to be concise killers, one shot, one kill. If somebody shoots you with an AK-47, you shoot them back. You don't blow up the whole bus filled with women and children. It turns out in the end that none of that even mattered. The story was bogus. As we resupplied those tanks, I had the unfortunate displeasure of finding out the real story from somebody that was on that tank crew. And their lieutenant was just getting bored on the long ride up, and he wanted to shoot something. That's the reality. That's the way we saw the Iraqi people. We were never, ever there to liberate these people.
It didn't take too much analysis to realize that if we're there to win the hearts and minds of the Iraqi people, that this is not how you go about doing that.
I drove a supply truck for this company of tanks, and on that truck I had food and water and miscellaneous weapons parts, communication gear for the rest of my company. I was also given this pallet of humanitarian rations, this huge crate of food, and it was stamped humanitarian. So when we crossed the border from Kuwait into Iraq, instantly saw all these little kids started lining the streets on both sides, and they were begging for food. I mean, it's an incredibly impoverished region. I reached back and started opening this gigantic crate of food that was given to me and started handing it out. No sooner did I start handing out this food did my first sergeant fly up in a Humvee and made, in no uncertain terms, crystal clear that I was under orders not to hand out any more food to one more Iraqi child. I got all the way to Baghdad, and I got all the way back to Kuwait, finally, and I still had this crate of food on my truck. And at that point, I just went up to my command, and I said, well, what do you want me to do with this? And they said, bury it with the trash.
Word came down from the high brass, and they said, we don't want to give the Iraqis the wrong impression about why we're here, so we're not going to give out any food.
All food was ordered to stay on the trucks. We were there to fight the Iraqis and to take Baghdad. We were the Marine Corps. We were not the Peace Corps.
It was unbelievable, like the fact that, like, well, why did you even give this to us? I mean, they couldn't even just make a thin attempt to appear to be doing, you know, humanitarian work.
The high school walkout, protest George Bush tomorrow. Protest against the war in Iraq. You guys know about the high school walkout that's happening tomorrow? Protest George Bush.
When we got to Baghdad, one of the first buildings we secured was the UN headquarters building. We found out a unit had arrived actually the day prior. So as we were going through this building, the building was destroyed. It was trashed. You know, desks were kicked over, file cabinets were tipped over, computer screens had been smashed with butts of rifles. It was the place was absolutely destroyed. The Marines before us just went through and just wanted to destroy some stuff. This is the attitude and this is the mentality that was ingrained in us. That's how we conducted ourselves. You know, and that translates directly to the way that we then started to carry out house raids. I mean, you look at your average house raid right now, and what happens? 15 Marines show up in the middle of the night, between midnight and 5. About 3 or 4 guys will climb on the roof. The rest will kick down the door, enter your house, full combat gear, full squad automatic weapons. The interpreters and the higher ranking will go into the main bedroom. They'll rip the male figure of the household. They'll rip him out of bed, throw him on the floor, get him to his knees, flex cup him, put a sandbag over his head. The children in the house will be taken outside. The rest of the Marines will go through and dump everything. They'll take everything that's out of the fridge and dump it over, sock drawers, and this is to search for weapons. If anything suspicious is found, they'll detain the male figure of the household. This happens every single night. I mean, it gets to the point where mothers will come to the door because they hear the raid happening next door, and they'll open before they kick down.